I was thinking a lot about that question. I didn't know how I was going to answer it until like this morning. I was like, ding!
What has your life on Hi-Fi?
The search for clarity has my life on Hi-Fi.
You're listening to Life on Hi-Fi, the podcast, and I'm your host, Dominic Justina.
It really doesn't matter if I create a masterpiece or not. It doesn't matter who likes it. As long as I'm enjoying the process, that's all that matters.
Follow me as we talk about relationships, love, purpose, passion, you name it.
Focusing on what you have versus what you don't have can be a huge game changer.
A public expression of freedom is just, I don't know, like it was so liberating for me.
Do what you have to do.
Yeah.
Take some time off if you need to. But when all is said and done, you gotta keep moving forward.
Let's commit to living our best lives together, shall we?
Let me know if you're willing to go there. But I think the first time I was able to recognize this feeling was how I showed up in a relationship I was in a few years ago. And it was kind of this mentality that I had that like, if I'm good in this relationship, like if I'm the best version of myself and show love and express love, then I have to continue to do that, right? Not in like this terrible way as if I'm withholding it, but like the best version of yourself and expressive. And so that stopped me, not consciously, I mean subconsciously. After the relationship ended, I was able to look back and go, oh yeah, that was what was going on. But like subconsciously, you just don't do that, right? It's that, again, it's not a fear of failing at the relationship, because the relationship is by nature of you not being the best version of yourself. It's failing, but you're afraid that it's going to be good.
Did you stop? So just to get this clear, did you stop like, are you saying that you stopped loving fully, or you held yourself back because of the fear of knowing you have to show up?
Yes, that's
like
second
this
bit.
Moving. Okay,
That's
got you.
It's a very insidious form of self-sabotage, right? Because it's like this is why I like the framing of it's not fear of failure, it's like fear of success or being good or of it working. I'm not being the best I can be, even though I know it's there, right?
Yeah.
I'm like falling short of it a little bit because like, then it's going to be good, and then what? Like, in the same way, like you're talking about, I'm sure professional athletes like kind of experience this as well, right? Like, or just people who like excel so hard at things. It's like, and then what? Like, then it's going to be good, and then what? And like having to fight through that is the first step. And I think you also just kind of what you were saying. I think that's something I would love to unlock, right? And once you do that, then you're able to like, okay, this is my best. How can I beat my best? And it's a positive challenge, not a thing you hide from, in the same context of a relationship, right? If you let go of that fear, and then now you're just competing, you're like, how can I be even better with this person? How can I show even more love? And that's a reinforcing loop, right?
So I think you hit the nail on the head when it's like it becomes this positive challenge for yourself where you hit the mark and you're like, oh crap, I can do this. And then you hit another mark and you're like, okay, I'm doing it. And it feels like adrenaline, really. If I could put it in like using your sports context, like it just feels like, wow, you're not really looking and comparing yourself to others. You're just looking at your performance and just seeing like how it's improving. And sometimes there are dips, but then you're just like, but I'm still here. I think a real way of trying to make that feel good though is being in the moment, because if you think about the future way too much while you're in it, there's so many things that can go wrong, and there's so many things that could like scare you into feeling like, okay, this is enough, I'm gone. Like, you know what I mean? Like that was good, but ta-da. So it's good to be like, okay, but I'm riding the wave as it's coming, and I'm not sure how long I'll be on the surfboard, but I think I'm liking this feeling. I'm liking this feeling of, and even if you stop, at least you'll be further than where you started. And that's the thing. You can never really say that there's a wasted lesson. So that's kind of like how I like to see it. But I know that, you know, it's easier said than done. And I know I trip myself out in those moments the most when I'm not present, when I'm not thinking about now and like what I'm actually doing well at. And I'm thinking too much into the future, too much into how can I control these unknown variables, unknown outcomes. I start to stress over things outside of my control, when really, why not just focus on the things that are in your control right now?
Okay,
Leave you
awesome.
some
Thank you.
room to explore. No worries. Question, because it's not lost on me that you're a financial planner, an advisor, so I will not let this opportunity waste. If you could financially advise me and anyone listening, 3 things to keep in mind when planning or finances, just from your experience. I don't know how good this question is because it's super general, but 3 things, what would they be?
Okay. I don't know if I can get up to 3, despite this being my profession for 6 years. But
Oh,
I
it's too
mean,
many? Is that too many?
no, it's not too many. I don't know. It's just like I'll start with this. So just like with general principles, you can't budget your way out of a tough like revenue or a cash in situation. No matter how tight and detailed your budget is, if it's not enough, it's not enough. So always look for ways to increase your ability to make money, right? You know, that's the whole back to the creating value concept. So the
Multiple
most
streams of income.
yeah,
That's where
yeah,
that
that
comes
kind of
in.
thinking. Yeah, that's where that comes in. You know, I didn't want to use that term because it's super popular these days, and that's, you know, there's always like, you know, you go on YouTube and it's like, how do I have 8 multiple, you know, sources of income? I'm not speaking down against that stuff, but just to change the way you look at it. The way to look at it is that no matter how detailed you are in your budgeting, money coming in is the most important thing. So you got to figure out, how are you generating money for yourself to come in? That's the first thing I would always say. And then the second component to that is cash flow is king, right? So again, if money's coming in and you've got an appropriate budget and you've allocated things towards health, shelter, food, the key things, you got to watch your cash flow, right? Where are you spending money in ways that you shouldn't be, you know, and being super honest about that. And then, even though we talked about not thinking about the future too much, always think about ways to pay your future self. It's another concept, right? You know, spending less money today means you have more money tomorrow. You know, so if you could avoid buying that coffee today because you're 10 minutes from your house and you could just drink the coffee from home, do that, because in a week you're gonna have more money, even if it's just $5 than you did last week, right? So conceptually thinking about taking care of your future self, because that's what money is for. Is for being able to be dynamic in the next situation, right? Because the money that you're using today, you took care of yesterday. Like, that's how you can survive today. You know what I mean? Those are not really like the most popular finance tips. You know, I'm not telling you to go buy a house versus renting. You know, like, we can have those conversations for sure. But I think the psychology of money is usually the place I like to start. Like, how do you understand, you know, what's going on really? Like, it's this concept we created 100 years ago, thousands of years ago, whatever. But yeah, that's it. I don't know if that is that in the range.
Yeah, for sure. I think when you were talking about the last point about paying your future self and sacrificing the coffee, I immediately thought of the Burger King I bought on Uber Eats because, bless you, I was going back and forth. I was going back and forth for a while. Just like, should I get this or why should I not? Should I treat myself?
There's other ways to think about it too, right? I mean, it's awesome that you just thought about it from a call it miscellaneous expenses perspective. Like,
Yeah.
why spend $10, or what would it ended up being something like $35 from Burger King if you didn't Uber Eats, when you could pay your future self. But another way to think about it is like investing in your future self as well, which is like expenses that are large but will save you so much time and energy in the future, which can allow you to make more money in the future. I'll give you an example. So like, this might sound like me just justifying buying an Apple product, which it is, but
You can't help yourself. It's all good. It's all
I
good.
can't help myself. I can't help myself. But if you look at like, I was struggling with my computer. I was, it took me too long to make videos for my podcast. It took me too long to process the editing for my podcast because I just had a really old computer. That took time and mental energy and stress, right? And you only get, it's only two currencies in life, time and money, right? So I spent a little bit of money, and not spending that money on a better computer that could operate more has bought me more time, right? And that's kind of when you think about your future self. Now in the future, it's going to take me 30 minutes less to do stuff, right? I'm going to feel better psychologically because it's taking me less time. And then I'm in a better headspace to go create value that hopefully will bring me more money. So everything has sort of like a knock-on effect in that way. It was a large expense, right? Because it was an Apple product. But over the next 3-4 years, it's going to buy me so many small increments of time, right, that I can hopefully put to the right kind of use. So that's another way to think about it, even though you like, just to give people another example versus Burger King.
I love that. I think I want to put my hats off to you for not allowing me to end it there at Burger King, because I don't know if I wanted to go down that way, Flo. It goes both ways. Coming out and going in is what I'm hearing you say. Pay. It's okay if you have to pay up now if it means freeing up some time later, or holding back from paying for something because you could really save yourself some money for later. So thanks for putting that spin on it as well. But I think just the last bit on this subject is time. And the reason I'm like, I don't know why I'm like fumbling so much right now, because time is underappreciated. So much to the point where we don't really realize that it's maybe just as important, if not more, than money. And we lend ourselves to so many things sometimes that don't serve us, taking it back to what we were talking about before. And there are so many incredible things that can happen when we treat time as something as valuable as money. We understand so much, like when a celebrity's time is of essence, but when it comes to our time, we can give it away freely like it's nothing. And that makes me sad, because parts of self-love is understanding how valuable you are in spaces that you're in, and parts of it is understanding how valuable your time is.
I mean, I'm in church right now because you're hitting everything. I would only add, this is my personal belief, but I would only add that time is infinitely more valuable than money because it's so finite. You never get it back. Like, you can lose $5,000 today and in a week do something incredible that gets you that 5,000 plus 4 back, right? If I spend an hour with you today, I'm never getting that hour back. Like, that hour is done. It's dusted. That's it.
We've spent more than an hour, by the way.
Oh yeah, I mean, and this is so valuable to me. I'm so happy to be here. I love this. But I think conceptually we don't get that. I don't get that. I fall victim to that as well. Like, I'm not saying but like, humans have such a horrible perception of time, right? Horrible, because we truly don't see. Obviously, you don't know when the end is coming. Like, you don't know when you go, but like, it takes so much. Like, our emotions are tied into everything. So, say you spend an hour somewhere that isn't valuable, then you begin to feel, oh my God, I just wasted this hour. And that affects your emotion, that affects your self-perception, and then all of a sudden you're wasting even more hours in that headspace, right? So there's so much that's connected with how you spend your time that I'm only just learning that, right? And again, it kind of tied into why I decided to make the changes that I did in my life, and so suddenly, right? Because it got to the point where I was like, any more time I am adding to these other things is taking away from time I could be doing somewhere else. that was just a reality, right? And if I can highly leverage the time in which I'm taking from this and putting it into other stuff, then, hopefully I can springboard myself to a place that I want to be, right? And that's just a reality that I stumbled upon. And I was like, oh, this is way more valuable than the paycheck I was getting. The time I get back from, it's way more valuable than the paycheck I was getting. I mean, for time, right? Obviously, at some point, I'm going to need to eat. But like, that concept, 100%, I'm with you on that, right? Like, we don't realize it. And I think the more attention people pay to how they spend their time and being more intentional with it, I think the more value they can see in their lives. Like, it's interesting. You used value, and it immediately used the word value, and immediately like sent me to my economics degree. And like, one of the first lessons you learn is the time value of money, which is an interesting sequence of words, right? Time value of money. Invest $1 today with the bank. Over 10 years, they're going to pay you X amount of interest, and that dollar is worth X amount after 10 years, right? The time value of money. And if you pull out time, value, and money and just look at them as concepts, you begin to see something. We talked about time and money being the only two currencies, but like value and where you place that value. I now, today in 2021, value my time way more than I value money. I hope to keep that going. And I think the more I spend my time wisely, the more money I'll be able to get in my life, macro, over a longer period of time, right? Maybe not over the next 6 months because I'm unemployed. But if I use the time over the next 6 months really, really well, hopefully I'm able to generate more value and then get more money.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you. And you know what? I'm rooting for you. You've met someone who is now on your team, championing for your success, and all the good vibes I could possibly send, I'm sending them all to you.
Received. And likewise too, honestly.
Thank you so much. And let's say, instead of hopefully, let's already thank the universe for allowing you the opportunity to be in the position of receiving that. And let's be faithful that, it's already yours.
Ooh, I like that. Yes, thank you. Mind shift. Not hopefully, but thankfully. I accept. I receive that.
I cannot leave without asking you the most important question I could ask you. And that is Flo.
Yes.
What has your life on Hifi?
The search for clarity, clarity of purpose. I didn't want to say the search for purpose because I think that might be vague and overly confusing to some people. But the search for clarity, just being sure or being clearer on what I am doing, and what I'm creating, how I'm showing up. And that has me beaming. It has me going into things with more excitement and more energy because I'm just going into that. I'm like, it'll become clearer,
Yeah.
Like whatever it is,
that.
It'll become clearer. So the search for clarity has my life on Hifi.
Yay! And that's a wrap. That's a wrap.
Love it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Search for clarity has my life on Hifi. That's a new one, and I love it too because I think to some degree, like, I could say the exact same thing. So thanks, Flo. And we are only 7 minutes over. I hope I'm not keeping you from everything or anything.
Oh no. My next thing's not till 6. But yeah, I was thinking a lot about that question. I didn't know how I was gonna answer it until like this morning. I was like, ding.